Burrow airs it out. Chase. Hello. Touchdown, Cincinnati. That's caught. And that's a touchdown. Yosivash.
The NFL head coach.
End zone shot. It's caught for the touchdown. Chase. Perfect throw from Joe Burrow.
And all right, here we go. Hooday, Bengal fans. He is Mon coming up right now. He is Eric. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse, the heartbeat of our Cincinnati Bengals. And the man, the myth, and the legend is there. He is with his FC Cincinnati shirt on. Bengal Pulse Light, pulsing. I love it, Mon. Welcome, Eric, guys. I'm not gonna lie here. It's been rough 3 weeks, right, for all of us. But I don't know. This week I kind of woke up with a sense of we are going to turn this thing around. I really do believe that. As bad as the defense has looked, Joe Burrow and the offense has looked very good, and I feel good about that. I feel good about where this offense is right now. I know we're gonna talk a little bit about that here in just a minute. Before we do, guys, we have a storm hitting the west side of our state. Hopefully, everybody over there is safe right now. Thoughts and prayers to the West Coast right now. In the Panhandle. Hopefully everybody is safe. We got hurricane category 4 hitting right now. We are not seeing too much of it over here today, but hopefully everybody over there is staying safe. How is it where you guys are right now? For us, we've just gotten some rain and some wind.
Eric, go ahead.
Oh yeah. Mon and I are in the same city, but about 10 minutes apart. So weather can be different. It's not too bad. It's very it's always nervous down here because you get a lot of spin up tornadoes. We had one of those spotted earlier, but we are definitely not getting it anywhere near to those in the West Coast. We've got a lot of Bengals super fans over there, Houday babies over there. So our thoughts go out to all them. And Mon's son lives up in Tallahassee, and I don't think he's there right now. But I'm really nervous for how Tallahassee fares, and so we're thinking about all those people up there for sure.
Yeah, this could be really ugly. My son is home. He drove home yesterday. Is headed towards the Bend. I guess we had Hurricane Idalia about a year and a half ago. It's going to hit a little further west of that. Apparently, as a Category 4. It's going to be ugly there. The next few days, You're going to watch it on the news. I'm praying for everybody. And I did reach out to Tony the Tiger. He said that his company that he works with, they already have over 100 trucks set up, ready to roll. They're linesmen. They do amazing work. I think it's Duke Energy, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
They're already in Alabama. They're positioned, ready to come in when it's safe. And there's multiple companies like that are coming in to help Florida. And it's not just Florida. Georgia is going to get hit hard also. This scary time, and prayers to everybody because they're going to need them.
Absolutely. I was just seeing something on the news. I don't know if you guys saw it, but the local news here did something, and they had these Duke Energy trucks just lined up, like line after line. I'm talking about hundreds of trucks. It was almost like it was crazy. It was almost like apocalyptic looking with these trucks getting ready for this. But again, thoughts and prayers to everybody over there. And hopefully everybody comes out healthy and safe for sure.
Just one other thing real quick. Jake's girlfriend works for emergency management in the state of Florida. They actually relocated them to Pensacola to get away from the storm.
Wow.
And that's something else. But yeah, we'll see how it shakes out. Prayers, everybody.
All right, guys, let's talk about let's get right into this, guys, because I started the show off. I'm going to be positive tonight. I think this team, we have to reboot itself. And Mon, I know you were on Twitter today, and you had posted some stuff there about a season reboot. And I love I love what you had to say. I think it was very poignant, and I think this team, they've got to find a way to do it. I look at all these clowns on TV and these talking heads saying that Joe Burrow. It's just insanity to me to hear these guys say that Joe Burrow has not played well enough. If I were to tell you guys right now, after 3 weeks, you don't know what the outcome of the last 3 games were, and I told you that Joe Burrow right now has thrown for almost 800 yards, 5 touchdowns, and no interceptions, you would say we are 3-0. Would you not?
For sure.
I go continue, Jake. I got something to say about Chris Canty and all these guys.
I just think it's so lazy for everybody to turn on Joe Burrow when he has done nothing. Now, again, the first week that Patriots game, the offense did not look well. It was sputtering a lot at times. However, if it wasn't for a Tanner Hudson fumble and a missed call on a Gesicki touchdown, the Bengals win that football game. So I just think it's lazy reporting from national media. Once again, we see this rear its ugly head. Joe Burrow right now is playing better than I want to say better than, but he's playing right now as one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL, which we know he is, Mon.
Yeah, he is. And, listen, the Bengals are 0-3. We all know that. We all feel it. We're all upset about it. And it's low-hanging fruit. It's easy on national TV to come out and say negative things about the Bengals. But when Shannon Sharp and Chris Canty, these guys played in the NFL, they know better. Joe Burrow's the least of our worries. He's not the reason we're 0-3. No. And for them to say that, they're trying to get attention. They're trying to get clicks on their Twitter accounts for their show. They're trying to get people, I guess it pays to be outrageous, but at the same time, you lose credibility when you say these things. You don't have to like Joe Burrow, but the Bengal problems are well documented, and the Bengal problems really aren't Joe Burrow's issue. It's not a Joe Burrow issue, and we're going to delve more into the issues that why we're 0-3, and hopefully they're correctable, because I think there is going to be a reboot. There's too much talent on this team. This defense isn't as bad as it was on Monday night. It's not a top 10 defense, but it's not as horrific as it was Monday night. I think it's going to fall somewhere in between, because the first 2 games, we gave up less than 300 yards total offense to each team, one of them being Pat Mahomes. So our defense is somewhere in between. They're going to rectify this. We're going to reboot this season.
Yeah, and I think Eric, I want to ask you this, because you talked a little bit about this on when we were on with Ace. You talked about how this Bengals defense, how well it played in Kansas City, and what it did to Patrick Mahomes, and why did we get this different looking defense on Monday Night Football? I'm curious, guys, because I think this reboot has to come from the defense. I really do believe that. I think, again, offensively, if you look at the last 2 weeks, I know we've kicked some field goals when we should have scored touchdowns, but the Bengals are scoring points. They're not turning the ball over. This is an offense that is not playing poorly. This defense has got to play better. And so, Eric, I'm curious to hear from you on this, because I do think you made some really good points on Ace's show the other day that we were on. What are your thoughts on this defense and what it has to do to play better from here on out these next 15 weeks?
I think it's all on Lou. It's scheme. You're going to have to be smarter. You're going to have to scheme up game plans. You don't have the guys performing at a level that you've had in the past, where you can rely on a DJ Reader to take up multiple gaps and still make the stop. You don't have all those players that we have the same guys. Most of them are the same. They're not performing like they did before. So you have to get cute with things. And then also, to me, it also goes on Zach. I kind of think we talked about this coming into the season, that we were very concerned about the depth on the defensive line, and it has already bit us. We're three games in, and the health of that defensive line is not there. I think it's twofold. Lou's got to do some creative schemes to set his people up for success, but Zach has to acknowledge that this is not the defense from our AFC Championship squads. Jesse Bates is not walking through the door. Ogunjobi's not walking through the door. DJ Reader's not here. So you can't play with the conservative. You can't play as conservative on offense because you don't have that defense that you can count on. Punting in that Patriots game, you can't do that again because your defense is not going to get that stop. We needed one stop last week, one stop. And you're just going to have to adjust. And ideally, you adjust this week. You play very aggressive. You go for it on fourth downs. If you're inside the 50, you go for it on fourth down, and your defense starts making stops. And now all of a sudden, the pressure's not on Joe Burrow. He loosens up, and then the sky's the limit. But until that happens, playing aggressively on offense and cooking up some schemes on defense have to happen.
I agree. I think that's well said. Mon, what do you think?
Good points. I just think the defense is pressing. They're trying to do too much. I'm not making excuses, but Joseph Osai, he hasn't played a lot of football. He's been on the roster a lot, but he hasn't really played a lot of football. And you could see that. He looked confused. Jaden Daniels is like a Lamar Jackson. Do you rush him? Do you play contain? And he looked foolish on a few plays out there. And I think the whole defensive line was a little confused. I'm going to go back to the last drive of the game. I know we don't want to harp on an old game, but they looked gassed and they looked really confused on that defensive line. Like they didn't know what to do. Lawrence Guy was just signed off the street 4 days before the game. Our two veteran defensive tackles didn't play. Zach Carter, who's still trying to figure things out as a pro. Jay Tuafele, a journeyman trying to figure things out. They're in there and they're playing significant snaps. And listen, they've had flashes. Some of them, they played good in earlier games. We just need some of these higher draft picks that we picked this year. We need our starters to come back, and they will. The reinforcements are coming in. I don't expect them to be a top 10 defense. I think they're going to be a lot better. They have to be a lot better than they were Monday night. Eric, you said it perfectly. One stop. That's all we needed. And I want to say one other thing. We really harp on Dax Hill. I need Dax Hill to step up. I'm not concerned about his coverage. Yes, that nice touchdown pass by McLaurin, that was a great play. You got to tip your cap. I'm worried about Dax Hill's tackling. We need better tackling as a whole on defense, but I need him to come up and I need him to be a little better at it because it reared its ugly head again the other night. They have to be better at the fundamentals. I think they will be. We're going to reboot this season. Things are going to work out. I'm still bullish on the Bengals.
Listen, I think too, when you look at this defense, we talk about Lou talked about it this week when they interviewed him. I don't know if you saw Lou's presser at all, but he pointed out Joseph Asai and Zach Carter individually, pointed those two guys out and said, we have got to get more from those two guys. And I thought that kind of took me back a little bit, right? Because I mean, we talk about it on the show, this defensive line and how bad it is. Again, listen, I own a Sam Hubbard jersey. I love Sam Hubbard. He is a local hero. But man, guys, his pass rushing ability it's not there. I mean, we heard he had an ankle injury last year. We heard about the injury and it slowed him down. Well, there's no injury this year. And he is right now, I think our buddy Justin said what is he like at the very bottom of pass rushing win rate. I mean, you can't have that. Trey Hendrickson cannot do this all on his own. We saw it on Monday night, guys. There was no pressure from anywhere. And I'm not taking away from Jaden Daniels. I said when this past draft came around that Jaden Daniels was going to be the best quarterback in the draft, and it wasn't even going to be close. And I stick by that. I'm not taking anything away from the way Jaden Daniels played because he played great. There's no doubt about it. But when any professional quarterback has 4.5 seconds to throw a football, they're going to play great. And I'm not taking anything away from him, Mon, but man, he had all day back there.
Exactly. I mean, nobody can argue with you. Trey Hendrickson, that just shows you how good he is. He's a one-man machine. I got to give some credit to the Bengals, though. They know it. They've spent a lot of draft capital. Miles Murphy, Chris Jenkins. They've drafted a lot of defensive linemen over the last 2 to 3 years. it's time to hit on some of them.
Yes.
Miles Murphy's coming off that injury. I expect them to come in. They're going to ease him in, give him 10, 15, 20 snaps the first couple games. I expect him to be the primary player on that side. There's a place for Sam Hubbard. Sam Hubbard looked great early in camp. I think that little injury was a little more serious in camp than everybody's leading on to. He's a good locker room guy. Hopefully that injury isn't that bad, because remember, he missed about 2 weeks of camp.
Yeah.
So there's something going on there. Remember, he had that high ankle sprain last year that he played through. Yeah. Reinforcements are coming, guys. They're coming in. One other bright spot, Chris Jenkins was probably our best defensive tackle last week, coming back from that broken thumb. Let's continue seeing that upward trend. McKinley Jackson's coming in. We got some promising young guys on the practice squad. Miles Murphy, reinforcements are coming.
Yeah, and you can't.
Go ahead, Eric.
It's hard to put it all on Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson. Trey's not going to be a beast every single game. It's going to happen, but it can't be understated losing B.J. Hill and Sheldon Rankins in the same game. It's not like the Bengals aren't trying. They signed Sheldon Rankins. B.J. Hill's been serviceable out there. Anytime you take those guys out of the game and now you have no interior pressure, it's all going to go on those ends. And then the moment that they do get pressure, the quarterback steps up and runs. You don't want to blame everything for injuries. And, every team out here would love to have 53 studs, but you're not going to have 53 men on your roster that are all stars, all pro players. So sometimes you have to survive a point of the season where you have those injuries, and we're right there. And I'll say it again, we just have to find a way to get through until those guys are back. We talked quite a bit about where we're at, and let's talk about actually rebooting the season. We have one of those schedules that's conducive to getting there. And one of the things that everybody's out there saying is a 2.4% chance of make a team going 0-3 and making the playoffs. I call BS on that stat, because that stat is highly reliant on a 16-game season. This is a 17-game season. We have one extra game. I think the odds are a lot better. And obviously I'm a homer to the definition of the word, but looking at the schedule and looking how Joe Burrow is playing, I think the odds are a lot higher. So I'll go to you guys. We'll go to Mon first. Mon, how do the Bengals reboot this season, and how can they go and get back into the playoff hunt?
0-3 is ugly. We can't sugarcoat that, but you're right. That's a good point, Eric. We play 17 games now instead of 16. There's a big silver lining here. The Bengals have not played any games in the North yet. That's huge. The last 2-3 years, the Bengals have been subpar in the North. That has to change. Being 0-3, we have a little room for error. But let's face it, has any team in the North played each other? I don't think they have.
No.
So they're going to cancel each other out. Call me a homer right now because I'm about to sound like one, but it's the truth. We still control our destiny.
We do.
If we go out and win, we have to win these games. I did a schedule reboot on Twitter today. I'm really looking, and I feel really comfortable with potentially the way I came out. I think the Bengals make it to 10-7. I really think it could happen. There's some tough games out there. We have to win a game that we're not favored in, or a game that we were not favored in early in the season. That when the season started, everybody thought that Dallas game on Monday night is going to be a loss. Well, look at Dallas now. I'm sure they'll turn some things around. There's a lot of time left. 1 week at a time. I know it's a cliche, but that's all we can do. 1 week at a time. If we win in Carolina this Sunday, it doesn't mean that's 3 wins. Yeah, when we win. Yeah, when we win, we're 1-3. Let's focus on the next week, which is a big divisional game against one of our rivals. Let's go into Carolina, take care of business. That's all we can do. We got 14 weeks to go, and every AFC North team has to play each other. We just got to win our division. Let's do it.
Well, and Jason's input in there.
Hey, yeah. Olivia, I love it, Olivia. Yes, your dad sounds like a homer. I love it. Thank you, Olivia, for that.
I think Ace and Zim even put that out there. Vegas still has the Bengals favored to win the division over the Steelers, who are undefeated. So
love you, Olivia.
You're not the only homers out there.
Well, I think that's what we have to look at is how poorly this division is. I talked about this on the post game with Ace. Guys, this division is not good this year. It's not. The Cleveland Browns look right back to where they were a couple years ago. They are not a good football team. The Baltimore Ravens are average at best. The Pittsburgh Steelers have scored 3 touchdowns in 3 games. This division is not very good. That's why the Bengals are still favored to win it, because you have 2 1-2 teams, and you have another team that's 3-0 that it's got one of the bottom offenses in the NFL. This division is still there, but Mon, you said it perfectly. The Bengals have got to win these divisional games. They have to. And if you do, I think it's very easy that the Bengals get to 10 wins. And again, I have been very, very negative about the way this defense is playing right now. And I will stand by that. I think if this defense does not play better, there is no chance the Bengals win 10 games. I do want to say this. I want to start seeing a little bit more of the young guys, right? I mean, a guy like Battle that has rarely seen the field. Meta, the linebacker, the rookie free agent linebacker. We need to see him on the field. I mean, get some of these guys on the field that we know we've seen them tackling. And to me, Battle, Meta, those guys are great tacklers. We have got to have those guys on the field, right? I mean, again, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over. And we keep running these guys out there over and over and over that are missing tackles. Guys, we have missed a lot of tackles in the first 3 games of the season. Go ahead.
Can I just say one other thing real quick?
Yeah.
Jake, I agree with everything you said. We spent a lot of time on the defense. You are absolutely right. Let me just say something why I'm optimistic why we can win 10 games. It's the best offensive line I've seen in the Joe Burrow era. They have been really good. They look good. Joe, coming off a significant wrist issue, surgery, has looked the part. You mentioned his stats earlier in the game, and our running attack looks like an improvement. I like these guys, and our tight ends. Dan Pitcher's done a good job with this offense. I'm bullish on the Bengals because of that, because you know they're going to score a lot of points. We need our defense to get in the middle. That's what we need from our defense. We'll get the 10 wins.
Yeah. And I think that's too. I think that's another reason why the Bengals are still the highly favorite of this division, is because the best quarterback in the division plays in Cincinnati, and it's not close. And I think if Joe Burrow continues to play the way he has played, this defense is going to catch up. But this Bengals offense is going to score a lot of points because of Joe Burrow and what he brings to the table. But I do think 10 wins are manageable. I just think the defense – listen, guys, when you're at home, you cannot give up 40 points. You just can't do it. That was the first game since like 1940, I think I read, that there were no turnovers and no punts in the entire game. When that kind of game is played at your place, you have got to win that game.
We need some breaks. I need Evan McPherson to kick the ball in the end zone like he was supposed to. He admitted that he messed up. And I need the Bengals to recover that fumble from Jermaine Pratt. Yeah. Great job knocking the ball out. Just one of those. If he would have kicked the ball in the end zone, they got the ball at the 30, we could have maybe got to punt that. And you know what? It could have flipped the game. But what happened? They ran it back 75 yards, and it,
To your point, I don't know if a lot of people saw this, but you shared this with us earlier. That was not intentional. That was a bad kick. It wasn't supposed to be a squib, so nobody expected it to be returned. So that's one of those things that all the breaks, like you said, have gone against us. The 2-point conversion in the end zone, clear pass interference. We're not going to complain about the rest here, but clear pass interference, that's a call 1,000% of the time. We don't get it. So it's just all of those dominoes lining up. And yeah, we need some of that to start going our way. So let's get into this week. We talk about that. If the Bengals can turn it around and how they turn it around. Let's talk about this week's matchup. This is a very, very important game, to the point that I bit the bullet, and my boys and my brother and I, we're driving up to the game and we're bringing home a victory. So let's talk about this Bengals Panthers matchup. The return of Andy Dalton playing against
I'm sorry.
somehow.
I just can't stop laughing at Ella's comment about Andy Dalton. It's just killing me. But continue.
We won't go bad on Andy Dalton. Somehow Andy Dalton has managed to play for what, 4 or 5 NFC teams, and we've played him 4 out of 5 years. Like, not an AFC team, an NFC team, as a backup on each of those teams, and we've still ended up going against Andy Dalton. So yeah, it's one of those things. We benched him on his birthday, and he's gotten his opportunity to go against us and get his revenge. So what is the game plan for the Bengals this week in handling Andy Dalton and the Carolina Panthers? Let's start with you, Jake.
Well, guys, for the first 3 weeks of this season, only 2 quarterbacks in the NFL have had a game where they've thrown for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, and that is Andy Dalton and Joe Burrow. So who would have thought that this would be the best quarterback matchup of the weekend? Listen, Andy Dalton, I know there's a lot of people out there that are not Andy Dalton fans. I get it. Listen, guys, he was not very good in prime time. He was not very good in the playoffs, but kind of like, I don't know, it seems kind of like Lamar Jackson-ish, right? He was great in the regular season, and he gets to the playoffs and he chokes, just like Lamar Jackson does now. He's like, Andy Dalton's like the original Lamar Jackson before Lamar. So listen,
he's a better runner than Lamar.
Listen, he's definitely a better thrower than Lamar for sure. Listen, Andy Dalton he's consistent, right? He's just a consistent quarterback, but he is a guy that the Bengals are going to probably be able to get pressure against, right? This Carolina Panthers offensive line is not very good. I'm kind of hoping from my end that this is the week that the defensive line breaks out, and maybe we get another sack from somebody that's not named Trey from the defensive line. Maybe I know the injury report came out, and if I'm right, Trey Hendrickson out with a sickness, with an illness. Rankins and Hill, I think, were still out today. But even if we get one of those guys back, that's going to kind of help solidify this defensive line. The Bengals have got to make plays, and they've got to do, again, what we are used to have seen. When Andy Dalton played poorly, it was when he had pressure on him. The Bengals have got to pressure Andy Dalton. They cannot let him sit back there and throw the football like what happened with Jaden Daniels, because Andy Dalton will make plays. Listen, everywhere he's gone, guys, he has taken the job. He just took the job from their number 1 overall pick. The guy he's a good football player. He really is a good football player. This Bengals defense has got to play better. There is no doubt in my mind that this Bengals offense is not going to have another big day. By the way, guys, right now, Andy Dalton has over 70% completion percentage and has a 107, almost a 108 quarterback rating. Andy Dalton continues with his good play. This defense has got to put pressure on Andy Dalton. We've got to cause Andy Dalton to make bad plays. Again, this Panthers team, guys, looks a lot different with Andy Dalton at the helm. I kind of wish he wasn't, to be honest with you, Mom. What are your thoughts?
He played really well last week. He's very capable. He's played numerous years. He knows how to play quarterback in the NFL. I would rather have Bryce Young in there, but it's not going to be that way. The Bengals have a lot of good players on defense. It didn't show Monday night, but Trey Hendrickson, obviously, but Mike Hilton's played numerous years. He's a star player. Cam Taylor-Britt, Geno Stone, we signed from the Ravens. I think lead leaguer in interceptions last year. I think he had 5, 6 interceptions, maybe 7. Dax Hill was a high draft pick. We need those guys. We need Logan Wilson. We need Jermaine Pratt. We need them to make a play. We need them to come in, force these guys 3 and out and punt, come up with a turnover and an interception. I think it's going to happen. I think I'm bullish on the Bengals because the offense is different. The offense is going to lead this team to a victory on Monday. It's going to happen. Joe Burrow, I think Chase Brown is emerging. I think he's going to eventually be our lead back. He's dynamic, and I love these tight ends. Eric All is a player. Gesicki's a player. And with T. Higgins, you saw what happened when T. Higgins showed up last week. Jamar Chase was uncoverable. So I'm not worried about scoring points. I just need this defense to regroup, stop pressing, do your job. Don't do anybody else's job. Just do what you're supposed to do. Come out and play. Andy's going to give us a couple interceptions. It's going to happen.
Well, yeah. So
go ahead, Eric.
Just some thoughts on Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton was a great Bengal, and he didn't leave on bad terms. You know, we saw Joe Burrow coming, so they had to bench him because Zach knew that he was going to get some wins, and he wanted to get that quarterback. If we didn't bench him, we would have gotten more wins that year. He almost cost us Joe Burrow in that Miami Dolphins game.
You tried. You tried.
Yeah, what Joe is that Andy never was Joe's ability to read a defense and process the field. Again, hopefully we're in a point in Joe Burrow's career and Zach Taylor's play calling that we acknowledge that we need to score points. We need to score 35 points a game, and that's the aggression that we should always see. If Luke does the scheme properly and disguises his coverages, we should get an interception on Andy because Andy doesn't process the way that Joe does. If Lou brings out a defense like he brought out last week, Andy's going to cook because if you allow him to go where he expects to go and do his reads, he's going to make the throws and he's going to do what he did. Now, the Panthers are a little banged up. I think their left guard or one of their guards had an injury, and he's going to be out at least a week. So they're going to have at least one backup lineman. Adam Thielen went down on that dot from Andy that got on the touchdown. So Thielen is out. So we're going up against Deontay Johnson and some other guys out there, and somehow Jadeveon Clowney is once again playing against the Bengals. He's a Panthers rusher this week. So it's there for us.
About that. Thanks. But I'm breaking out in a sweat now.
Well, you can break out a sweat and all you want, but they asked Joe Burrow on a press conference, and he says, "What?" They said, "Are you worried about Jadeveon Clowney?" He's like, "Well, why would I worry about him?" And they're like, "Well, when you got injured," he's like, "Oh, he's the one that injured me." So Burrow doesn't even care. So don't worry about it, Lon.
I got the flip card out, guys. I'm looking at the rosters for both teams, and guess who's starting for the Panthers? Nick Scott.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah, Nick Scott.
Nick
Scott
Scott
said that yesterday.
He's
Nick
starting
Scott,
for
you
them.
owe
So
us. You owe us, Nick Scott, for your terrible play in Cincinnati. Let's talk too, because this Panthers
got a great offensive line.
Hubbard has played well too. I mean, he's averaging 5 yards a carry, in the run game. Deontay Johnson, we're seeing him again. He is their lean receiver right now with 13 receptions. You guys talked a little bit about the defense. They do have Shaq Thompson. They got some good players on the defensive side of the ball, but again, we are going against a defensive back room that really is average at best, and the Bengals should be able to take advantage of the back end of this Panthers defense. The offensive line, again, Mon, I don't know if I agree with you that they're good. I would say they're average. They have given up 8 sacks, Mon, in 3 games. So I think that bodes well for this Bengals offense and the Bengals defensive line. Josh and Kim Johnson, thank you so much for that super chat. We really appreciate that. It says someone just tell Andy Dalton this week's game is primetime game.
Well, that's what someone was saying. They really set us up bad. Like, why not? The schedule makers could have put this in 4:25 or 8 o'clock or on Monday Night Football.
Listen, Andy Dalton at 1 o'clock we know he is very good at 1 o'clock games. That is where that's where he shines. Andy Dalton at 1 o'clock. Go ahead, Mom.
No, I think their offensive line is actually really good. I mean, Robert Hunt signed a $100 million contract. He left the Dolphins to go there. He's a great guard. You mentioned Hubbard. The reason why he's running behind that massive offensive line. Taylor Moton's a good player. I I'm just worried again until I see improved play from our defensive tackles. Listen, I know DJ Reader wasn't going to win the game for us last week, but we do need to control the line of scrimmage a little better. I want Andy Dalton to get 3 more possessions a game. We only had 3 possessions in the second half last week.
Yeah.
I want 5 possessions in the second half or 6, because guess what? That's more opportunities to score points. So if they come out and establish the run, it could get ugly for us. But that's why I just we need to focus. I think their offensive line is capable of doing that, and I hope our defensive line steps up.
Well, just one thing
against our defensive line.
Just one thing to add, I do think, I mean, this is not just a Nick Scott reunion game. This is just not just an Andy Dalton game. This is also a Von Bell redemption game. He was on the Panthers last year. They're paying his salary this year. They said, you're not good enough, and we said, we want you back. Von didn't play as good as we thought he should have played last week. This is Von's get-right game. And if Von Bell is on, you're not going to see those long extended plays. You're not going to see those missed tackles. I think that this is a Von Bell game for sure. I think it could be big.
Well, again, I think it starts up front again with this defensive line. I mean, they have got to put pressure on the quarterback. You do not win in this league. That's why these defensive linemen get paid so much money, because if you're not pressuring the quarterback, you are going to lose. And we saw it last week with the Washington Commanders. Jane Daniels had all day to throw the ball. He carved us up with a 90% completion percentage, something crazy that you never see in the NFL. The Bengals have got to put pressure on Andy Dalton. If they do that, this will be a big day for this Bengals defense, and maybe a turnaround. This could be the turnaround game. It also could be, I don't want to say it, but it also could be the other end of that if the Bengals do not come out and perform well. I think that's something we don't want to talk about right now, but I think it is something worth mentioning is, if the Bengals come out and we get that same poor performance on defense, it's going to be very interesting to see what trickles down from that moving forward. But again, I do feel confident this Bengals team will play a lot better against the Panthers.
There's a lot of pride on that team, and I think they're going to show up. I feel very, very confident about Sunday. Yes, I'm creating a receipt right now. If things don't work out, come at me. But I feel really confident.
Listen,
Yes.
They got to have all the receipts now. Jake, you're a football coach. The NFL, high school, college, these are all evenly matched teams. Who wins the game? It's the team that is more desperate, the team that wants it more. The Bengals are as desperate can get. We're going to be desperate this week. We're going to be desperate next week. We're going to be desperate in week 3. The Panthers are coming off of, oh my God, we still have a possibility in this season game. They're excited. They think that they're the kings of the world because they've got Andy Dalton. They might be a contender in that AFC South. It's always been an 8-8, 9-7 type division, but they're not going to be desperate because they just had an infusion to their season. We're going to be desperate. If we don't win this game on Sunday with the desperation that this team should feel, then we can talk about those mock drafts of Mons, because then it's definitely they gave up on this season and Zach lost the locker room. We're not going to go there. It's not going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen, but if that did happen, we're going to have some uncomfortable conversations about key players. But let's not talk about that now. Let's go.
Okay. I think that's kind of what my point is. But yes, let's move on. Let's not talk about that right now.
Let's get to we'll come back to our predictions at the end of the show. Let's get to our AFC North predictions. Let's talk about some of those other games. Let me get your graphic up here for you.
By the way, guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight live. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys so much. Thank you guys for joining us tonight and talking some Bengal talk with us. All right. Here we go. Eric, you lead us. Let me know who's up first.
We're going to start at the bottom again. We're going to start with the game that Aaron should be not watching us. He should be watching pre-games, the podcasts that are doing pre-games for this game. But we've got the Bills at the Ravens.
He's a Bengal fan. He is
That's
a Bengal
true.
fan. He's already said on here that his Ratbirds are going to get destroyed by the Bills. So that's why he's on here. He's not watching that.
All right, so give us your thoughts on the Bills Ravens and your predictions. Jake, you can give your score first.
Okay, I'll go first. I think this is a Buffalo Bills team that again, I think they really have to be the biggest surprise of this season, to be honest with you. I think a lot of people, including myself, said that this window was closed for this football team, but guys, I don't know if you've watched them that much, but they are playing better now than when they had Stephon Diggs and all these other guys, Gabe Davis. This team is playing with a different type of energy right now. The defense is playing out of its mind. Let's just call it what it is. And this is not a Bengal take or homer. The Baltimore Ravens are not a very good football team right now. They are playing right now one of the best, the Buffalo Bills, and the way they're playing. I think this game is a little bit closer than we might think it would be, but I have the Bills winning this one 24-17. Buffalo wins, and the Ratbirds drop to 1-3. I think it's actually 24-17.
Yeah, I see. I dropped that off there.
That's
we'll
okay.
talk about that 17 later.
That's okay. 17, although I do think that's a possibility too. With the way Lamar Jackson's been playing, they might only score 7 points. Go ahead, Mom.
It's going to be a tough game for Buffalo because they're playing in Baltimore on primetime. Baltimore's record in primetime games is really, really solid. But I'm going to pick the Bills because Buffalo, to me, looks like the best team in football. They are dominant.
Yeah, they are playing
They look
good.
Josh Allen is a good quarterback. He really is. And listen, I have so much respect for him. Yes, he's his nickname Captain Chaos. He's good for a couple turnovers, but buddy, he's good for 4 or 5 unbelievable wow plays. I think they're going to win this game. I think Buffalo will win in a hard-fought game, 28-17. 28-17.
27. All right, so we're close, Mon. 24-17, 28-17. We've been very close with our predictions. It's very strange. Eric, go ahead.
Just wait till you see the end of this. So, Raiders, okay. Browns at Raiders. Mon, go ahead and give us your take on this one first.
Browns at Raiders. The Raiders looked just odd last week. They did not look good. I can't figure out Cleveland. Cleveland on a couple drives last week just looked phenomenal on offense, but unfortunately the game was more than 2 drives. They are just they're not a very good team. Losing Callahan, he left. Their offensive line coach left to go to coach in Tennessee. You can see a difference in that offensive line. The Cleveland Brown offensive line has been their staple for years. They just do not look the part. I think the Raiders are going to rebound. I got the Raiders winning 22-17.
22-17. By the way, guys, Aaron Butler says Bills 87, Ravens 12. So it might be closer to 87-12. That's a good take, Aaron. All right, Raiders and Browns. Listen, guys, the Raiders. I don't know if you saw the presser from the Raiders, but I feel like they were embarrassed last week, to say the least. They obviously go to Baltimore, beat the Ratbirds, and I think this football team will come out motivated. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think the Browns are good. I think the Browns right now, and I know we're 0-3, but the Browns right now are probably the oh God, I can't. It's hard to say that, right? Because we're 0-3. But I feel like at the end of the season, that's a good way to say it. At the end of the season, the Browns will be in last place in this division. The Raiders, I have the Raiders winning 21-13 over the Browns. Again, I think the Raiders bounce back because I don't know if you saw their head coach, but he said some guys made some business decisions last week, and we're going to make some business decisions this week. So I feel like there's going to be a motivated Raiders team this week.
Very nice. I agree. I think the Raiders are going to win.
Yeah.
Here we go.
It's hard when you got Marvin Lewis and Andy Dalton does that to you. So let's go Steelers at Colts. I think we've got Jake up first for this one.
All right, Steelers at Colts. Again, guys, the Steelers have scored 3 touchdowns in 3 games. The Colts defense is very good. We know that. I'm going to say the Steelers score their 4th touchdown of the season in 4 games, but it will not be enough. The Colts will win 17-10 over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, guys, this Steelers defense is very good. This Steeler offense is very bad. The Colts win this football game 17-10.
Nice. Pretty close to what I have. I give the Colts the victory in this game just because they're playing at home. Pittsburgh's defense is legitimate. They're going to be in every game this year just because of that unit. What concerns me is that if they start figuring things out, Jake, I agree with you. Their offense is hard to watch. But if they start figuring things out, it could be look out. But I think they're going to lose. I have the Colts winning this game 17-15. Colts over the Steelers.
Yes, thank you, Jennifer. Thank you very much, Jennifer. I could not think of Antonio Pierce's name, but thank you very much, Jennifer, for that. Yes, Antonio Pierce called out his team and the Las Vegas Raiders. All right, here we go.
All right, Bengals at Panthers, the one we're all here for. Mon, give us your last thoughts on this and give us your prediction.
Guys, I think the last 7 quarters, we've seen new Bengal offense. I think we saw it in Kansas City, and we saw it last week. They scored 33 points, and everybody was talking about they had to kick field goals in the red zone. I get it. Yeah, you're supposed to score touchdowns. I get that. Guys, that wasn't the reason we lost. We lost because of that defense last week. Our offense was playing on another level, and they played well against the Super Bowl champs also. I think our offense is going to continue at that trend. I think they're going to come out. They're going to put a lot of pressure on Andy Dalton and the Carolina Panthers to match them. I think that's going to cause Andy to press and give us a couple turnovers. I think the Bengals win this game 35-17. Very confident about it.
Yeah, you know what? I feel the same way. Again, I know we said this earlier, but this Bengals offense right now is playing at a very high level. It's actually one of the better offenses in the NFL, which is crazy when you think that they're 0-3. But this Bengals offense has only turned the ball over 1 time in 3 games. They're playing well. Joe Burrow is playing lights out. He is playing like the best quarterback in the NFL right now. And to me, when your quarterback, when your elite quarterback is playing at that high of a level, it's eventually going to end up being wins. And I think this is a game. I think this is a must-win game, by the way, for the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't think there's any room for a loss here. This has got to be a win. And it's got to be a win that is actually more of a statement than just squeaking one out. I know right now we'll take that because we want to win. But I think the Bengals have to go and make a statement in Carolina against Andy Dalton and a football team, honestly, that's just not very good. I say the Bengals win 31-17. Again, I think this Bengals offense continues to play at a very high level. And again, like I said, guys, to me, this is all about Joe Burrow and the way he's playing right now. I would be much more worried if this Bengals offense was not playing at a high level, but they are. And they're one of the best offenses right now in the NFL. This defense has got to come out and get stops and get the ball back to this explosive offense. And if that happens, we will be a hard team to beat the rest of the way.
No doubt. I just gotta ask, what's the obsession with 17 today? I got this one wrong. It's supposed to be 24-17. Everything, you guys are 17, 17, 17, 17, 17, 17. What's going on?
I don't know. Maybe I have Boomer. Maybe I just have that 7, that number 7. I got Boomer on my mind. I don't know. I think 17 is a number sometimes you look at when a team is it's an average team. They're going to score a couple times and maybe get a field goal type of a thing. I don't know. Come on.
Hey, let me go off script. Let me ask all three of you this question.
Mm-hmm.
Give me 3 reasons you're bullish on the Bengals to turn this around. I'll give you my 3. All right.
That I'm bullish.
Yeah,
about it.
like
Okay. Yeah.
side.
Yep.
Joe Burrow,
Mhm.
offensive line, and pride. There's a lot of pride on this team, and they're going to turn it around. We're going to win a couple games that maybe nobody thought we could. We're going to get to 10 wins.
All right, I'll go next. Obviously, Joe Burrow. I said it earlier. I think Joe Burrow, to me, he is playing at elite level right now. He is. He's playing at elite level. Chris Canty and all those guys are morons. They're clowns. To say something as ridiculous as Andy Dalton is not playing well enough for this team to win is the most ridiculous statement I have ever heard.
Joe Burrow. You said Andy Dalton.
Oh, Joe Burrow. I said, see, I'm thinking, I'm a little worried. I'm telling you guys, I'm a little worried about Andy Dalton. But Joe Burrow is playing at such an elite level right now. And again, we have heard some ridiculous things being said about Andy Dalton in the past. But I think that Joe Burrow is playing well enough right now that this Bengals team, he will help carry this Bengals team. So I believe in Burrow. I still do. And I'm going to say this. I think the weapons on this Bengals team, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Mike Gesicki is playing at a high level. I know he dropped a big one against Kansas City, but he is second on this team in receptions right now, 2 behind Jamar Chase. Mike Gesicki's playing at a high level. I mean, this team has got weapons, and I think most of the teams that we line up against, this team has better weapons than who we're going to see down the road. And my third thing is this. I think I know you guys aren't going to agree with me because the Bengals are stay pat about this stuff, but I think there are jobs on the line as we speak, whether it be player or coach. Sometimes those are a little bit more motivating factors than others. And I think there are people's jobs on the line. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens again and how much motivation there is behind it. But again, I got 2 words for you, Joe Burrow. That is the reason why I am very bullish about the Cincinnati Bengals team still.
I got to give 4. I'm going to break the rules here, but obviously Joe Burrow is a given. Joe Burrow playing like MVP level Joe Burrow, the sky's the limit. Number 2, Lou Anarumo is a very prideful man. I don't believe, we had some hot takes on Sunday. That's all on Lou, that defense performance. I don't think we're going to see a performance like that again out of this defense. And if we do, I could see Lou Anarumo pulling some guys. Number 3, the schedule makers. They gave us a schedule conducive to starting 0-3 and still winning 10 games. My 4th, no one is going to call this out there, but the 4th thing hinges on Joey Bosa, the Bengals strength and conditioning and the rehab guy. He's got to get these defensive guys back out there. If he can work his magic and help them with the rehabs and get them back on the field, we need 1 stop a game. We need 2 stops a game if Joe's playing like this. There might be a game where Joe doesn't play like this, and we're going to need that defense. So we need him to get those guys healthy, get him back out here. And if those things – if he can do that, then this season is going to be turned around a lot. We're not going to see as many texts from Jake saying, "Oh, my God, this defense. Oh, not again. Oh, come on."
I hope not.
If we do, the Bengals Pulse is going to convert to basically one episode is going to be just a live Twitter or live feed of our texts just for the entertainer. It would be so like –
Hey, if they keep on losing, we're going to call the show the Pulse.
We're going to call it the flat line.
Or Mon's text, Jake, I'm leaving this room right now so I can only get positive vibes.
Jake, you killed me. You know what killed me? I mean, okay. last week was terrible, but like the week before, we gave up like a 10-yard completion. Oh my God, you're pathetic. And we forced them to punt. It's like one play blows up. It's all
I'm
good.
a
It's fun.
one-play guy, Mom. I'm a one-play guy,
I know.
All right, guys. Well, again, thank you once again, everybody, for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you guys so much. We love you. Thank you so much. Hooday to everybody out
Even
there.
you, Aaron. We love you, Aaron. Fake one and the real one.
I like the fake one much better, but we do appreciate you.
Olivia
us,
and Ella,
Aaron.
thank you so much.
Yes, Olivia, Ella,
Daughter and her friend, thank you so much.
All right, guys, that is another edition of the Bengals Pulse. As always, if you like this podcast, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Make sure you check us out on all the awesome podcast platforms, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify. As always, if you like this podcast, make sure you give us that 5-star review. We would very much appreciate that. Follow Mon on Twitter at @TheFireMon. Follow me on Twitter at CoachJakeOwens9. Follow Eric on Twitter at eFlash with 2 H's 88. Follow the Cincinnati Podcast Network on Twitter at CincinnatiPod. And as always, follow the Bengals Pulse on Twitter, guys, at Bengals_Pulse9. The same without the @ on Instagram, Mon. Let me get through my speech. Without the @ Bengals_Pulse9 on Instagram. Yes, Mon. Go ahead, my man.
It is howling here.
It is here too now.
It is getting it's howling. We got to play
it.
It
is here too. It is here too.
Okay,
it is.
just wanted to share that.
The wind is starting to pick up a little bit. Listen, guys, I'm going to say this again. We cannot lose to Andy Dalton. Guys, you understand this? We cannot lose to Andy Dalton. Bengals defense, I need you to play like 2021. All right, guys, that is another edition of the Bengals Pulse.
Hold on.
He is Mon. He is Eric. Eric wants to say something else. Go ahead, Eric.
Just a reminder, we were live
Yes.
with Ace on the Cincinnati show after the Monday Night Football game, but
Yes.
the Bengals Pulse will be live as soon as it hits 0. This time we're going to be celebrating, and if everything plays right, I'll try and get online from enemy territory. Hopefully that stadium is only orange by the time the clock hits 0 because they gave up in the third quarter and all the Bengals fans moved down. But
Donna,
we'll be here for you.
Catch the replay, Donna.
Yes, catch a replay, Donna. Thank you, though. Thank you for jumping in. We appreciate that. Guys, again, like Eric said, make sure you check us out post-game right after Bengals Panthers ends on Sunday. He is Mon. He is Eric. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse. Hooday, Bengal fans. We will see you after a victory on Sunday.
We appreciate you.